Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Nish here. Today we're going to be talking about the glorious GMMK Pro. Some key things to know here. We're going to be talking about the specs. I'm going to give you guys some of my build tips and my thoughts and opinions on the board. Ever since the announcement of this keyboard, this is probably one of the most hyped keyboards out there. Before we get into it, if you do like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for future keyboard reviews, and hit that noti so you know when the next video is out. So let's get right into it. The GMMK Pro is Glorious's new bare bones 75% keyboard kit. And what that means is you're going to have to supply your own switches and keycaps for this keyboard. And it is a 5-pin hot swap, so you can fit any Cherry MX style switch in there, 5-pin or 3-pin. If you are familiar with Glorious keyboards at all, typically they're the gaming style keyboards, but this is their first take on an enthusiast style keyboard. Because this keyboard is targeting enthusiasts, this keyboard does have some specs that a standard gaming keyboard typically won't have. So let's go over some of those specs. It has a rotary encoder, a full CNC aluminum chassis, gasket mounted plate design. It has their own goat stabilizers, which we will talk about in depth later. It does have per key RGB lighting, as well as a nice strip of RGB on the side of the case. Included with this kit, you get a nice braided USB Type-C cable, and depending on the color, white or black, you'll get a white or black cable. Now this is no custom coiled cable or anything, but I think this is great quality. Just a standard USB Type-C cable that is actually of decent quality that some of these keyboards don't come with. Glorious will have an option to get a custom coiled cable from them if you want to pay that extra price, of course. Two other items that do come included with this kit is a switch and keycap holder, and you are going to be needing this so you can customize your keyboard with switches and keycaps. The ones included are not of the best quality. I actually don't recommend these style ones. I actually have a 2-in-1 wire switch and keycap holder that you can get cheap off of Amazon for like $5, but Glorious will have an option to purchase theirs on their site if you want. So now let's talk about the keyboard. This is their white ice edition, which is actually a silver. It was kind of disappointing that it didn't come in white. And they also have a black option, which is black slate. On the top right, you notice a rotary encoder, which is just like a volume knob. You can change the function of this in their software. The keyboard layout is a 75% exploded layout, so there's bezels between the FN row, extra keys, and the arrow keys. All the bezels on this keyboard are nice and smooth. Each of the corners are rounded or filleted, and it gives it a nice smooth texture to it. The rotary encoder at the top right of the keyboard can easily be popped on or off, and it doesn't feel cheap at all. It's actually filled with plastic with a metal housing. Of course, with the black slate, it comes with the black, and with the white ice, it comes with the white or silver, but you can also purchase a gold one. Personally, I love the aesthetic of rotary encoders, but I really don't use it a lot, but it does add a nice touch to the keyboard. As easy it was to take off, it's just as easy to put back on. You just pop it right on. Easy disassembly and easy install. One of the biggest controversies about this keyboard is the GOAT stabilizers. They definitely took a risk, greatest of all time stabilizers, which they are not. But they are a PCB mounted stabilizer, which is a lot better than a plate mount stabilizer, but there is some rattle. So if you want to get rid of that rattle, you're going to need to modify those stabilizers. Now, if you flip the keyboard over, it has a nice glorious engraving on the back. Now, would it look better if they put their logo on it? I think so, but that's all subjective to everyone's personal preference. Now, if you want to achieve the best possible sound you can with this keyboard, you are going to have to open it up. The case is secured with 8 screws on the back, 4 on top, and 4 on bottom. So you're going to need to unscrew those to open it up. Now make sure to not misplace these screws. I actually lost 2 of them because there are actually so many screws in this keyboard. Once those 8 screws are out, you remove your rotary encoder, and then the top of the case just pulls right off. After removing the top of the case, you can see the plate and the PCB. Now it's not screwed in because it's a gasket mount design, so it's sitting on those gaskets that I'm touching right now. When lifting it up, be sure to be wary of the wire on the back, which actually leads to the daughter board for the USB-C port. That's located right below this foam here. And once we remove this cable, the PCB and plate assembly can all be lifted up. Just like this. So what you're going to find underneath this assembly is some of the case foam. This is meant to dampen some of the sound within the case. Now I personally keep this, but I have heard of people removing it to get a little bit more flex in their keyboard. So if that makes it more hollow, I don't know. So underneath that case foam, you're going to find the daughter board, which is attached to the PCB via this cable right here. And I love that they added this little channel here so that everything isn't so compact. Not that it already is. To plug this keyboard in, it is a USB Type-C, and the hole is recessed in the middle of the keyboard, right where that daughter board is. So now going back to that PCB and plate assembly we have. On the side of it, you can notice this RGB diffuser so that you have that nice little shine through on the side of your case. Now, if you thought I was joking about there being a lot of screws in this keyboard, there are 12 here. 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom to hold the PCB and plate together, and 2 on each side to hold those RGB diffusers in place, which I think is extremely overkill. Now that we got all 12 of those screws removed, we have 2 more screws that are in standoffs to remove from the plate. Now once you remove all 22 screws from this keyboard, you can finally lift up that plate. Now after you remove that plate, make sure to not lose these RGB diffusers that are on each side of the PCB. Otherwise you're going to be experiencing hotspots. And this plate foam was glued to the plate, but you can take it off. It didn't need to be glued there. Now stock with every bare bones kit, you're going to get an aluminum plate. You do have the option to purchase a brass plate, which is a lot more dense and less flexible than the aluminum. And you have the option to purchase a polycarbonate plate, which is a lot more flexible than the aluminum. So in terms of stiffness to flexibility, it's going to go brass, aluminum, polycarbonate. And because keyboards are all preference, you're going to have to decide for yourself if you want a stiffer typing experience or a more flexible typing experience. Now, one of my biggest concerns about the GMMK Pro is that these GOAT stabilizers aren't a standard housing. So if you do decide to stay with the GOAT stabilizers, you don't have to worry about a thing. All plates, aluminum, brass, and polycarbonate will fit perfectly fine. But what about those of you that want to take that extra step and throw in your own stabilizers, such as the Durock V2s, everyone's go-to basically? I have some unfortunate news for you, and I'm going to let you know they aren't going to fit. As you can see here, I'm trying to force this Durock V2 in, and it won't fit. The cuts on the plate are too small. Now you do have the option of sanding down the plate, which I did attempt on this brass plate, but I got tired of doing it because it did take quite a while and I kind of gave up. But there is a ray of hope. If you do like a more flexible typing experience, the polycarbonate has enough flex in it that you can squeeze those Durock V2s in there. It will require a little bit of force, but definitely not a lot. And as you can see here, they do fit nice and snug. Now, why did Glorious make this so that they can only fit their GOAT stabilizers in here? I have no idea. It might be a marketing thing going on. But if they truly wanted to make this enthusiast, they gotta customize it more. While I have this keyboard disassembled, I'm going to show you guys 3 ways to make your GMMK Pro sound a little better. Now first, obviously, you're going to want to lube your stabilizers, whether that be Holy Mod or just lubing and Band-Aid modding. Now the second thing that you're going to want to do is add a little bit more cushion to those gaskets. So to get a little bit more flex, I added an extra layer on each of those gaskets. You do get this extra gasket strip with the keyboard. And it's as easy as putting another sticker on. You peel the gasket off and apply the gasket strip over the original one so that there's a little more cushion. Now this final build tip that I have for you is removing these standoffs. This is of course if you like a more flexible typing experience. If you want a stiffer one, throw them back in by all means. And these standoffs are the ones that were in the middle of the plate when you unscrewed it. Now that you've done all that, you can reassemble the keyboard. Now you can put back that plate foam. I like it. Some people do remove it, so there's a little more flex, but I like the sound dampening of it. As for reassembly, it's as simple as just putting every screw that you took out back in, except for those standoffs, of course. After you fully reassemble your keyboard, you can go ahead and throw whatever switches you want and whatever keycaps you want. Let's get right into the sound test. This is with the polycarbonate plate because I like a more flexible typing experience. Now I think this is actually a pretty great keyboard. At a price point of $170, you get a 75% keyboard, gasket mount, and a full aluminum chassis. Now if Glorious truly wants to make this an endgame product, they're going to have some work to do. My recommendation to them is talk to their consumers and see what they want. They could have definitely done a lot of things better here. I would still recommend this keyboard to a lot of beginners out there. There's a lot of things that you can do with it, test it out, and really fine tune things to your liking. Everything that you saw in this video will be linked in the description if you do want to check it out. Now, if you do need some keyboard and tech help, my Discord will be linked below. And if you have anime recommendations, let me know. See you in the next video.